Welcome back here to Adelante, Chicago. Well, in the last 10 years, she has become one of the most beloved independent Puerto Rican superheroes in comic book history. We are talking about La Borinqueña, created by Edgardo Miranda-Rodriguez, who just happens to be here with us today. And actually, look at this. I've got box toys in here. Box superheroes. This is awesome. It's not often that I get props.
Thank
so
you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Of course. You got to, add a little sabor and sazon to your set.
Yeah,
so
it looks great. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but I do want folks to know why you came to Chicago this week. Big, I guess, do we call it a performance or?
Well, it was an incredibly immersive, engaging workshop that I led. So I'm a teaching artist. I've been teaching internationally, La Borinqueña, and part of my teaching artistry is helping my participants embrace their superpower. So I call the series a Make Your Own Superhero workshop. My wife and I, Kyung Miranda, developed the lesson plans, the curriculums, and I was invited by the Kellogg's Foundation for their first ever Every Child Thrives Festival, hosted at the Obama Presidential Center, the official first event ever hosted at the Obama Presidential Center. So literally, it smelled new. And I had an opportunity to engage people that came from all over the world, from South America, South Africa, South Korea. They came to the south side of Chicago. And I had them there for 3 hours in my workshop. And we talked about why La Borinqueña exists as the only superhero series dedicated to charity work and why it's in the context of this event, but also empowering them to say, I can be a superhero, and helping them embrace their inner child through this engaged activity that I've developed, using my superhero as a model, showing them how I created my superheroes, from my ideas, my sketches, to the final iterations of a graphic novel and an action figure. So it was a phenomenal experience with everyone.
Well, and I would think what an honor, right? To be at the Obama Presidential Center as it opens up. I mean, we just saw the videos, a week ago of like all these celebrities showing up there to celebrate.
And to be able to say that Puerto Rico was presente, plantamos nuestra bandera, and that was, for me, I understood the weight of that responsibility and the incredible honor and what that presented for me. And I did my best to represent Puerto Rico, Latinos, and the comic book industry in that space.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about La Borinqueña.
Sure.
For folks that maybe are watching this and maybe have heard a little bit about what that is and maybe through the Puerto Rican Arts Museum, right, have maybe heard about it. What do you want them to know about this character right here? Why did you create her?
So I created her as a response to the economic crisis affecting Puerto Rico in 2015. Puerto Rico developed a $74 billion unpayable debt. And I knew at that moment that was going to lead to a humanitarian and economic crisis. And as a storyteller, I saw that superhero comic books was the perfect platform to address this, because it took this conversation into a mainstream space. It brought it into pop culture. So mainstream media outlets, comic book conventions started talking about Puerto Rico in a way that never had been spoken before. And quite honestly, Latino representation, because overwhelmingly this industry is underrepresenting us. So as an independent storyteller, I moved into this space with my own studio, Somos Arte, and we developed these characters, we developed these stories, and that's really where the inspiration comes from. And it's really nested in traditional superhero storytelling, from the colorful costumes to the origin stories. Superheroes are inspired by Greek, Roman mythologies. They're even inspired by the Bible to create these characters that we've all known and loved for close to a century. I tapped into the Taino mysticism, the Semis, the spirits of the Caribbean islands who have their own belief systems. These deities that are connected to the elements inspired me to create my superheroes. A lot of the biodiversity and the heritage and the history flows into this olla and made the sancocho that are these superheroes that we see today.
And look at this, you've got product to go along with it, right? Not just the comic books, but if folks want to be a part of this and want to enjoy and be a part of this culture and what you're trying to put together, where do they get something like this?
So on our website, la.borinqueña.com, we actually have a campaign. It's our 10th anniversary, and we're encouraging everyone to consider supporting our campaign as the only superhero series dedicated to charity work, and you could join the movement. If you pledge to support, you can get our action figures, and we're exclusively selling these action figures. We literally are the only line of action figures where all the characters are Latino, are from the Caribbean, and these characters are connected to culture, like this character, Oro el Coqui Dorado, was actually developed by my son when he was only 5 years old.
Oro el Coqui.
Oro el Coqui Dorado.
Okay.
And he's inspired by the town of Loíza. Loíza is the town in Puerto Rico historically that freed itself from slavery. And the flag's color of that municipality is green, red, and gold. And that inspired our character. And he has a Taíno symbol of the coqui on his chest. And that's just one of the many action figures and comic book series that we've created.
I love it. What a great way for kids and families to learn about their own culture, right?
Yes.
It's 10 years you're celebrating, right?
Yes.
Which is quite a feat,
Thank
quite
you.
an accomplishment. So in that time, do you think you've been able to make a difference in the way that people see some of our cultural differences, some of these social injustices that we're seeing? I mean, you talk about global warming, right?
I talk about climate change in these stories because it organically affects us as people of color, as people from the Caribbean, as Latinos. Scientists for many years were predicting Hurricane Maria. Scientists for many years were predicting an earthquake in Puerto Rico, like the earthquake that just happened this week in Venezuela. That's a part of climate change, and we can't ignore this science. But in my stories, I understand that in the superhero genre, that's actually a form of science fiction. But by bringing real science into the stories, young people, readers, can actually understand and embrace this in a narrative. And what has happened magically with this, and I explained this to a lot of our readers in Puerto Rico, is that the majority of our readers aren't even Puerto Rican because we have our books available across the world. There's even a French publisher that published a textbook with a chapter about environmental studies, and La Borinqueña and her superheroes are teaching children about that.
All right, so there's the information on the screen, laborinqueña.com, if you want to join their movement or find out more about these characters. Thank you so much for coming in.
Muchas gracias,
You're
Lourdes.
amazing.